Hi there. Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys had an awesome Christmas, enjoyed that special time with all of your family. I know there's so many things going on and it's so hard to keep up with all of that and all the people, but the wonderful thing is it's one of those times of the year where we can all get together, relax, enjoy each other, and hope you got a little downtime and got to enjoy some great food and some awesome company. So, Coffee with Connie this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are on with us, please reach out and say, hey, I like to know who's on with us. Helps me make sure that we're talking about things that will help you with buying a house, buying a piece of property, building a new home, or doing a refinance on your existing home. So we deal with home closings, and I like to give you information that can help you with that, in fact. So hope you're having a great start to your Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day on the East Coast, a little bit cloudy, but temperature-wise really nice. So hope you're having an awesome start to your day and all the hustle and bustle of getting back from Christmas. So today I want to talk about something that has seemed to come up. I've talked about this a lot of times before, but it's one of those things that keeps coming up that is an area where people who try to do things illegally can get into our business. So I want to make sure that you understand what the rules are, what the requirements are, if you can't be at closing, because this is really important. There's so many people out there trying to do things the wrong way that I want to make sure that you understand so you're not affected by that and why the rules are what they are. So let's say that you're a buyer and you are buying a piece of property, but maybe there's two of you and one of you can't actually be at closing. Good morning, Heather. Hope you had an awesome Christmas. I know it was probably pretty stressful for you guys, but hope it was nice with what you had going on. And the blankets were absolutely beautiful, so your mom did a great job getting that together. So if you're buying a piece of property, and let's say there's two of you and one of you cannot be at the closing, and you want to do what we call a power of attorney. So you want to give the other person the right or the ability to sign all the documents on your behalf. That can be done, but what needs to happen is we need to know about it in advance, and the mortgage company that you're borrowing money from needs to know in advance because they have to review that document. So there's a very standard document, power of attorney, to be used whenever you're giving someone else the right to sign on your behalf. And when you're borrowing money, the lender needs to make sure that it meets all of their requirements so that their loan is protected and that they don't have a problem with you being able to repay that loan because something wasn't signed properly. So we'll need to see that in advance. We will need to make sure that the lender has reviewed it and it meets all their requirements. We will also need to talk to the person that is giving the power of attorney on the day of closing, and we will need to talk to them before closing to confirm. We'll also need copies of IDs from everyone that signed the power of attorney. So both the person giving the power of attorney, the person using the power of attorney, and the notary that notarized and confirmed that signature will need copies of all those IDs. Unfortunately, powers of attorney are one of those areas where it is one of the things that is probably easiest to create fraud when it comes to real estate or transferring ownership or signing things on other people's behalf. So because of it, we've had to become hypersensitive to what all of those different nuances are. So we're going to probably require a lot of things that you may not be expecting, but we just need to make sure that the person that's not going to be at closing is really interested in having this other person handle their closing. So if you're a buyer, that's going to be the scenario for that, and we're going to need to see it in advance. Then we're going to also need the original at closing because we're going to need to record the original in the land records where the property is being transferred along with all of the other documents we're recording. Now let's talk about the seller side for a second because this happens more often than not. For whatever reason, a seller can't be in town, maybe an emergency has happened and the seller can't be there, or maybe the seller has already moved out of the area. So we're going to work on a couple of different things. First of all, we would much rather in a seller situation have the documents sent to another title company that we work with in the area where the seller is located and have them sign those documents and sit down in front of someone else and sign them. And the reason is because on a sales side, this is the area that gets the most fraud that happens against it. So and this has happened several instances, not directly to us, but things that we've caught where someone was trying to create fraud on selling a piece of property and the people signing the documents weren't really the seller. And so if you're buying a piece of property, you want to make sure that we've got this really nailed down, because we're protecting your home ownership and we're ensuring that ownership. So we want to make sure that we've covered all of the bases and any possibilities. So if you're selling a piece of property and you can't be at closing, the first thing we're going to do is try to get a connection between you and a title company that's in the area where you're going to be, to have those documents sent to them. They will sit down and sign those documents with you, or excuse me, review those documents with you so you can sign them, and then send them back to us securely so we can make sure that all the right people were in place. Now, if for some reason that doesn't happen, there's going to be a lot of things that are required if a power of attorney is used on a seller's side. So if the seller is signing a power of attorney, we want to talk to that person before they give power of attorney to someone else, or once they've given power of attorney to someone else. We want to be able to see them, talk to them, see their IDs, and really have some involved conversations. And the reason is because anyone can get on the phone and say they are the person that's selling that property, and yes, they signed that power of attorney. And more often than not, we have seen so many times that this is totally not the case. So here's an example recently that we had going on where a son was selling a piece of property that was his mom's, and the mom couldn't be available for closing. So the mom gave the son power of attorney. Here's where it started to get interesting. So the son was located in Las Vegas. The mom and the property are located in Washington, D.C. Coincidentally, the mom showed up in Las Vegas, somehow, that's what we were told, and signed that power of attorney, and then, and it was notarized out there, and then she went back to Washington, D.C. Well, the mom was elderly and was not well, part of the reason that she needed to use a power of attorney because she couldn't come to our office for closing. But if she wasn't well, then it started to be questionable to us. How could she how could she fly all the way to Las Vegas to sign a document that she could have signed locally? So then when we asked to be in touch with the mom wasn't able to talk on the phone for whatever reason, and the identifications that we were given both for the notary that notarized the mom's signature and the mom were clearly not the correct people. The mom's ID had a Las Vegas address, which she had never lived there, and the power of attorney, the notary, the signatures didn't match the notary's ID and the notary on the document. So as you can see, many red flags, red flags, red flags, red flags. And in our business, red flags mean somebody's trying to do something illegally or do something that is not going to make sure that we feel comfort to secure that loan and to make sure that you as the buyer are actually going to be purchasing something that you really own. So we're going to ask lots of questions. We want to speak to the seller probably several times, including the day of closing, that's not going to be able to be there. We want to see their ID before closing because we want to compare some signatures and follow through all those pieces. We want to talk to the notary and see their ID and, again, confirm all of those things because supposedly that person sat down and watched that seller sign that document, or that buyer sign that power of attorney, and guarantee that that signature was correct. So we want to talk to that person and make sure that we understand that that really happened, those two sat together, that we're talking to the right people. Because as I said, at the end of the day, that power of attorney gives someone else the right to transfer ownership or to sign off on a mortgage for someone else. So we want to make sure that the person that can't attend was actually giving those rights properly, as we can see that going on. So good morning, Rhonda. How are you this morning? Good morning, Anita. How are you? Hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas and enjoyed all of your family time and good food. And now we all need to go get on the treadmill, I think. I know, at least I do. So if you are thinking about buying or selling or refinancing a piece of property and you know that you cannot be at closing, but the other person that you are doing this with will be able to, just contact who's doing that closing for you and make sure all the pieces are pulled together, because they're not going to, in most cases, going to make this super simple because there's too much opportunity for there to be fraud. And we want to make sure that that ownership being transferred is absolutely transferred properly. One, because you want want to make sure that you never have a problem if you're purchasing the property, that no one ever can claim an ownership interest. No one ever can come back and knock on your door and say they own that property. But also we want to make sure that you're protected, and we're insuring it. And we can only do that if we make sure that everybody that was signing all those documents were in fact the right people, and that that property was transferred properly, or that mortgage was signed off on properly. So power of attorneys can be a sticky area. They can certainly be a great tool if someone cannot be at closing, and we understand, you know, people are in the hospital. People have emergency situations that come up, and sometimes it's difficult to get everybody together for the closing at one time. So there's different ways for us to work around it, but know that is going to be some particular requirements that there are, that the company doing that closing is probably going to have some very specific requirements, and that's why. Understand that. Don't give them a hard time, because they're protecting your ownership and they're protecting your sale to make sure that there is not anyone trying to create any kind of fraud situation on that property. So hopefully that helped you guys a little bit understand that process. Oh, I forgot to mention, so if you're selling a piece, also we will need the original power of attorney at closing. And the reason for that is because we have to record that in the land records with that deed as well. So if you have that original power of attorney and all of the things and pieces that are required by the company doing the closing have been met, then you're still going to need to bring that original to closing, and they're going to need to keep that for a couple of days to get that document recorded. So because once things are recorded in the land records, then it becomes public record, and everybody can follow how an ownership changed ownership through different people. So that's going to be a requirement, and then the original can go back to you as soon as it gets recorded and returned from the courthouse. So as I said, hopefully that helped you guys with a little bit of information, because we really do understand that things change and there's a lot of people to get together for a closing, and we understand we've got to try to make some accommodations. But you also have to understand that in today's environment, there's so many people out there trying to fraudulently do things when it comes to real estate, because there's so much money involved there. And so they're always trying, the people that do things the wrong way are always trying to figure out new little ways to get around the system. And so we want to make sure you're protected by making sure we have all the pieces in place. So hopefully that helped you a little bit today. Hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. One thing I wanted to tell you is make sure you are staying in touch with us through the balance of the year, and right after the first of the year. We have all kinds of new things launching after the first of the year that we've been working really hard on, and hope you guys stay tuned. Currently, if you want any information, some resources that you need because you're getting ready to do a closing, there are all kinds of things on our website. There's a calculator for closing costs that you can subscribe to. There are all kinds of documents, planning checklists, buyers moving guides, sellers moving guides, sample documents. There's all kinds of things that you can look on there. If you want to go back and check out other conversations that we've had on Coffee with Connie, those are on there as well. And we have some super exciting things launching at the beginning of the year that we really hope you stay tuned for. So I try to reach out to you guys on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Coffee with Connie between 8 and 9 a.m. Hopefully you have time for that, and if you don't, hopefully you get to watch the replay and we help you with some good information. You guys have an awesome Tuesday, and I'll talk to you again soon. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.